HFY stories, they vanished when humanity left. Fear took its place ***. Humanity didn't leave with a bang or a whimper. They vanished in the stillness of the night, quietly, completely, and without a trace. The galaxy awoke to an eerie silence. Earth, once the bustling heart of human civilization, now orbited its sun as a lifeless rock. Its cities, technology, and even its animals were gone, leaving only barren land where vibrancy once thrived. The other species of the galaxy, the Garthak, the Tellurians, the Lithari, reacted with confusion, then panic. Humanity had been the wild card of the Galactic Union. Their resourcefulness, ingenuity, and relentless adaptability had earned them both allies and enemies. For decades, the Union had feared humans, not because of their technology, which lagged behind some of the elder races, but because of their spirit. Humanity was stubborn. When others folded under pressure, humans fought harder. Their persistence was legendary, their creativity unmatched. And now, they were gone. ###Day 1 after the vanishing. At first, the galaxy celebrated. The Veclari Empire, long embittered by human resistance to their territorial claims, declared the day of victory. Humanity's arrogance has finally been punished, proclaimed Emperor Colthax. Their departure is the will of the stars. But the celebration was short-lived. The first sign that something was wrong came from the colonies on the edge of the galactic frontier. Trade routes long protected by human patrols fell silent. Ships vanished without explanation, their wreckage never found. The Tellurian Merchants Guild sent out distress signals. None were answered. The Garthak Council convened an emergency session. Their analysts reviewed human history, searching for clues. Could this be a trap? One counselor asked. A ploy to lure us into a false sense of security? The answer came, chilling and unexpected, from the Lithari. No, humanity isn't hiding. They've left, and taken something with them. What? Balance. Month 3 after the vanishing. The galaxy descended into chaos. Pirates, once kept in check by human-led coalitions, roamed freely, terrorizing unprotected sectors. The Veclari, emboldened by humanity's absence, launched invasions into neighboring territories. The Tellurians, fractured by internal strife, couldn't organize a defense. Fear gripped the Union. No one had realized how much humanity had been holding back the darkness. Year 1 after the vanishing. Rumors spread like wildfire. They ascended. Some whispered, imagining humanity joining some higher plane of existence. No, they were taken. Others argued, something more powerful than the galaxy itself consumed them. The most disturbing theory came from a rogue Lithari scientist named Velkarthar. Humans always acted as though they were fighting a war we couldn't see, he said during a broadcast. They pushed boundaries, innovated tirelessly, as though they were preparing for something. What if they left because they knew it was coming? What? His interviewer asked, voice trembling. Velkar's response sent shivers across the galaxy. Whatever scared the humans enough to leave. Year 5 after the vanishing. The galaxy's population dwindled. Once thriving worlds became silent tombs. Fear ruled every corner, and no one could determine why. Ships vanished without warning. Entire colonies disappeared, leaving only ghostly ruins behind. The Union's strongest fleets patrolled in vain. Ancient empires fell. The Lithari fled to deep space sanctuaries, whispering of a shadow no sensor could detect. And then, one day, a message was intercepted. It was a human signal, broadcast from a far-off star cluster long thought uninhabited. It read, "To the galaxy, you were not ready. We did what we could. We held the line for as long as possible, but the storm has arrived. We are sorry. Humanity." Epilogue. The Veclari fleet responded to the coordinates, hoping to find the humans and demand answers. They found nothing but a dead system, its sun dim and its planets frozen. The galaxy's greatest fear was not humanity's disappearance. It was the realization that humanity might have been the last defense against an enemy too terrible to name. And now, that enemy was here. Chapter 6, The Ripple Effect. The news of humanity's deliberate exodus spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The Korath were the first to sound the alarm, but other species soon followed. In every corner of the galaxy, fear tightened its grip. Trade routes were abandoned, colonies near human space evacuated, and once proud civilizations began fortifying their borders. Yet the darkness advanced. Reports grew stranger. Ships vanished without a trace. Entire planets succumbed to an eerie silence, their inhabitants seemingly swallowed by the same malevolence that had claimed human territory. On Haven Station, Rilith Tan became a reluctant leader. Her investigation into humanity's disappearance had marked her as a voice of authority on the growing crisis. She convened a council of allied species, hoping to unite them against the encroaching threat. "This is no longer a human problem," she declared. Addressing representatives of over a dozen species, they may have fled, but whatever they ran from has now turned its gaze toward us. We must stand together, or we will all fall. A silence followed her words, broken only by the chittering of the insectoid Varnak ambassador. Stand together? Against what? Shadows? Whispers? Humanity had weapons we can only dream of, and even they fled. What hope do we have? We have no choice, Rilith replied grimly. We either face this threat, or we succumb to it. Chapter 7, The Void's Hunger. As the galaxy's leaders debated, the darkness continued its inexorable spread. Korath scientists working to decipher humanity's data discovered fragments of alarming information. The anomaly was not a natural phenomenon, it was a predatory force, an ancient entity that fed on civilizations. It doesn't just destroy, one scientist explained during a briefing, it consumes memories, technology, even the essence of life itself. That's why human space feels so hollow. It's not just their absence, it's as if they never existed. Varn, standing at Rilith's side, asked the question on everyone's mind, can it be stopped? The scientist hesitated. Humanity thought not, but they hinted at something, a weapon, perhaps, or a sanctuary. It's buried deep in their data, but we'll need time to piece it together. Time is something we don't have, Rilith muttered. Chapter 8, A Flicker of Hope. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source, an old Korath warship that had once fought alongside humanity. Its AI, dormant for decades, was reactivated and began broadcasting fragments of an ancient human message. Asterisk to those who remain. Asterisk, the recording began. The voice firm yet weary. Asterisk, there is a way to fight. The answer lies in the Forge of Soul, but beware, the path is perilous, and the price is steep. The Forge of Soul was a term no one recognized, but the coordinates embedded in the message led to an uncharted region of space near the galactic core, a place where even humanity had rarely ventured. Rilith didn't hesitate. Prepare the fleet, she ordered. If this forge is our only chance, we'll find it. Chapter 9, Into the Core. The journey to the galactic core was fraught with danger. The closer they drew to the coordinates, the more erratic their instruments became. Time seemed to warp, and strange phenomena plagued the fleet. Ghostly figures appearing on the edges of sensor arrays, voices from dead crew members echoing through the comms. When they finally reached the coordinates, they found a massive structure orbiting a dying star. The Forge of Soul was unlike anything they had ever seen, a gargantuan ring of metal and crystal, pulsing faintly with energy. This is human work, Varn whispered, awe in his voice. Not just human, Rilith corrected, noting the alien glyphs etched into the forge's surface. This is a collaboration, they didn't build this alone. Chapter 10, Humanity's Legacy. As the fleet approached the forge, the shadow entity struck. A wave of darkness swept across the system, swallowing smaller ships whole. Rilith's command ship shuddered as tendrils of void energy lashed against its shields. Desperation gripped the crew, but Rilith remained focused. Get us to the forge, whatever this thing is. It's afraid of what's here. The ship docked, and a small team, including Rilith and Varn, boarded the forge. Inside, they found a control room illuminated by a faint, golden light. In the center stood a terminal, its interface pulsing with energy. The human AI from the old warship spoke through their comms. Asterisk, the forge was our last hope. A weapon, but also a sanctuary. Activate it, and you may yet survive. But beware, the forge demands a sacrifice. The shadows closed in, their monstrous forms visible through the station's viewports. Time was running out. What kind of sacrifice? Varn demanded. Asterisk, a life force of great strength, a leader's resolve. Only then will the forge awaken. Chapter 11, A Choice in the Void. Rilith stepped forward, her claws tapping on the control panel. If it's the only way, then so be it. Varn grabbed her arm. No, we need you. Let me. Enough, Varn. The Korath need leaders, but they need hope even more. If this works, my sacrifice will mean something. Before he could protest further, Rilith activated the forge. The room filled with a blinding light as the machine roared to life. Tendrils of energy lashed out, striking the shadows outside and tearing them apart. The entity screamed, a sound that resonated through the very fabric of space, as the forge unleashed its full power. When the light faded, the shadows were gone, and the system was silent. Epilogue, A New Dawn. The forge had worked, the anomaly had been pushed back, but at a cost. Rilith's sacrifice had activated humanity's last gift to the galaxy, a shield that would hold the darkness at bay. The Allied fleet returned home, battered but victorious. In Rilith's honor, the Korath led a renewed effort to unite the galaxy, ensuring that no species would ever face such a threat alone again. As for humanity, their fate remained a mystery, but their legacy endured, a reminder that even in their absence, They had stood as the galaxy's defenders. And though the shadows lingered at the edges of space, they dared not cross the line humanity had drawn, for now, fear had been vanquished, and hope had taken its place. HFY stories, they vanished when humanity left. Fear took its place asterisk asterisk. The station hung in the void, silent now. For centuries, the Korath Collective had relied on humanity as allies, neighbors, and occasional saviors, but one day, without warning, the humans disappeared. No messages, no explanations, just the eerie emptiness of their once bustling colonies, ships, and outposts. The void was left behind, and with it, a gnawing fear. Chapter 1, The Absence. Korath Commander Rilith Tan walked cautiously through the corridors of Haven Station, a massive hub that once thrummed with human life. Now, the lights flickered inconsistently, casting elongated shadows. They didn't even take their belongings, Rilith muttered to her second-in-command, Varn. She gestured to a table, where a human game board sat mid-play, pieces scattered as if its players had simply vanished mid-move. Commander, this feels unnatural, Varn said, his voice tight. The Korath were a proud and stoic species, but something about the humans' sudden disappearance set their nerves on edge. Who could make them disappear? Humans were not easily cowed. That was an understatement. Humanity had arrived late to the galactic stage, but their resilience, creativity, and unyielding spirit had quickly earned them both fear and admiration. Entire empires had fallen to their resourcefulness, while others prospered by allying with them. Rilith tapped the hilt of her sidearm, an old habit from years of military service. This isn't a retreat, she said. It's something else, something bigger. Chapter 2, The Whispering Void. Reports began flooding in from other sectors, human colonies, research facilities, even deep space mining operations, empty. Everywhere the same story, half-eaten meals, still running machinery, and no sign of struggle. But then the whispers began. Merchant ships passing near abandoned human space reported strange phenomena, shadows that moved without light, faint whispers in languages they couldn't understand, and an oppressive sense of being watched. On the edge of the galactic frontier, a Zyran freighter vanished entirely, its last transmission a garbled scream followed by static. The Korath Council convened an emergency session. We cannot ignore this, Rilith argued, slamming her clawed hand onto the council table. Whatever happened to humanity is spreading fear throughout the galaxy. If we don't act, we'll be next. A council elder, his scales dull with age, replied gravely, and if we investigate, we may share their fate. Chapter 3, Echoes of Humanity. Determined to find answers, Rilith assembled a team of specialists and set course for Sol, humanity's cradle. The journey was fraught with tension. Even seasoned crew members reported hearing faint laughter or seeing fleeting silhouettes out of the corner of their eyes. When they reached Earth, the sight was chilling. The blue planet was untouched, its cities intact but utterly devoid of life. Skyscrapers loomed like tombstones, and vehicles lay abandoned in the streets. Rilith's team descended to investigate. They found data logs in one of Earth's major cities, but the messages were cryptic. They knew something was coming, one technician murmured, playing back a recording. A human voice crackled to life. We tried to warn them. It's not safe anymore, not for us, not for anyone. Another log showed scientists discussing anomalies, a growing distortion in reality itself. It's breaking through, one whispered. If we can't stop it, we need to leave, all of us. What were they talking about? Varn asked, his voice trembling. Rilith shook her head. Whatever it was, they feared it more than death. Chapter 4, Fear Incarnate. As the Korath ship prepared to leave Earth, the crew experienced their first direct encounter. A shadow stretched impossibly long across the ship's hull, shifting and writhing as if alive. Lights flickered, and a voice, low, guttural, and wrong, echoed through the corridors. Why have you come? They are gone. This is our domain now. Crew members panicked, some collapsing in terror. Rilith stood her ground, her sidearm drawn, though she knew it was useless. Who are you? She demanded. The voice didn't answer, but the shadows coalesced into a towering, amorphous figure. It leaned close, its presence suffocating. They saw what was coming, they fled. But you? You will not. Chapter 5, The Legacy of Humanity. Rilith's team barely escaped, the shadow creature pursuing them until they cleared Earth's orbit. Back on the station, Rilith reviewed the data they had managed to retrieve. Humanity hadn't simply vanished, they had left. They had discovered something ancient, something malevolent. Unable to fight it, they had chosen exile over annihilation, taking their entire civilization beyond the galaxy's edge to escape. But their absence had left a void, and in that void, the darkness had grown stronger. Rilith stared at the final log, a message recorded by a human admiral before the Exodus. To those we leave behind, we are sorry, We fought as long as we could, but some battles cannot be won. If you find this message, know this: do not linger where we once stood. Leave, while you still can. The message ended, but the implications were clear. Humanity hadn't abandoned the galaxy, they had saved it, by sacrificing their place in it. As Rilith prepared her report for the council, she couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows weren't done. The galaxy had grown complacent, relying on humanity to hold the line. Now, with them gone, fear had taken its place, and it was only a matter of time before it consumed them all.